Today I'm going to teach you how to make paper flowers. These flowers can be adapted by using various papers, from plain paper and patterned paper to old books or maps. I would recommend using paper with a minimum weight of 80 grams, similar to printer paper, and a maximum weight of about 200 grams. In your kit you'll find one of these flower punches. This is a 3-inch or 7.5 centimetre flower punch. Underneath is a plastic lid. I remove this, I find it easier to get a more accurate cut on the paper. We can probably get about 3 flowers worth of petals from this A4 piece of paper if we're accurate and careful with where we place the holes. So try to get the hole as close to the edge as we can without going over the edge of the paper and punch. You'll see it's very close to the edge. We'll try and get the next one as close as possible again. Now we won't fit another shape at the end here, but we could overlap one slightly here. Just move the punch backwards and forwards a bit until you find an accurate place to punch. For each flower we need 3 of the flower shapes. The next thing we need to do is fold each of the layers. We're going to fold in half along the indentations of the petals, and then we'll fold it back on itself. Makes for a really crisp crease that way. We're going to do that on across each of the indentations, so 3 times on each layer. And we need to do that on each of our 3 flower shapes. Now we need to cut the petals out. On one of the flower shapes, we're going to cut along the crease just to the centre. That's the first layer. On the next one, we're going to cut one of the petals out. So be careful to cut it right to the centre. And on the next layer, we're going to cut 2 of the petals out. That is our 5 layers to make the flower. This is just PVA glue and some scrap paper. I'll use the largest piece first, and I'm going to glue the whole of the petal next to the slit, making sure I go right to the edges, covering it carefully. You don't want too much glue, otherwise it'll get messy. And just overlap. Hold it for a couple of seconds and put it to one side to dry. We'll get the next largest one. There's a little bit of wet glue on the scrap paper here, so we'll just be aware of that and move the petal over so we don't get glue on the back of the flower and make it look messy. Again, cover the whole of the petal. And overlap. hold it for a couple of seconds and put it to one side to dry. And the same one on the third largest piece. Again, careful that we're not putting our work in the wet glue. And fold over. We can leave these to dry now. We now need to get our cocktail stick, and with this heart-shaped piece we're going to roll the petals outwards along this angle from the indentation to this point. It doesn't have to be too accurate. It's a bit fiddly, this bit, when you first start doing it. You want to roll it over the cocktail stick and then take the cocktail stick out. Do that on both the petals. The more you do this, the quicker you'll get at it. Some papers roll quite tightly when you do this. If you want to tweak it slightly, you can do. For our next stage, we're actually going to completely unfold it, unroll them. This is so we can bend it inwards. This is the most fiddly part of this whole flower, and it just takes a little bit of practice. We're going to overlap these two edges. Like this. Don't worry about squashing the petals. And we're just going to glue a little bit of glue to hold them in place. And then use a paper clip to keep it there. With the individual petal, we're now going to roll this one long ways. So from where the point is, we'll roll it inwards, like this. And then going back to these larger three pieces, we're going to roll these petals out. Will be a little bit stiffer where the overlapped paper is. You've got the double weight, but that's okay. Just take your time with it. We'll repeat on the other two layers as well. We're now ready to lay these three layers together. If we just sit them inside each other, there's a bit too much of a gap and it wobbles. So we're just going to snip the end off this layer. Just a few millimeters. Check that it sits inside okay. Quite happy with that. And then we'll dip the bottom into the PVA glue. Make sure it's nice and deep and it does go up the sides. And just lay it on top. We'll do the same with the next layer. And check. Yeah. Add some glue going up the sides. It's quite a lot of glue, but that's okay. The more glue you use, the longer it'll take to dry, but also probably the more secure your flower will be. We just need to wait for these pieces to dry now. So while we're doing that, I'll show you how to twist the wire to make your stem. My preferred technique to create a stem is to get double the length of wire and twist it over. If you have access to a drill, you can insert the wire into the drill very carefully and tighten. I use a cordless drill for this. You can, of course, get the old-fashioned manual drill. Make sure that it's nice and tight. If you find that the two ends won't easily insert into the drill, you can wrap it with a little bit of tape around the end and then put it into the drill just to keep them together. You then get a knitting needle or a kebab stick or something else like that, and just insert it into the loop at the end and then twist. You can see quite easily when it's twisted. Just take it out. You get this beautiful twisted effect. All you need to do now is snip the ends off and make this loop into a kind of hook knot thing, which will go inside the flower to hold it in place. That'll do fine. If you don't have access to a drill or you choose not to do this, you can use a single piece of wire and just create a knot at the end. So this should be dry enough. We'll take the paper clip off, just pop it back out into shape, and we'll start with the overlapped piece on the outside. Just gently roll the petal back out again, and then on the one on the inside. Tweak it so you like it, and then we'll just snip the end off, probably about 1/2 centimetre this time. Insert the small bit into the middle and snip this off as well. We need to poke a hole through the centre of this piece. If your glue's still a little bit wet, you can use your cocktail stick. If your glue's dried, you'll probably find a needle, a sharp needle, easier. Try to get it as close to the centre as possible, though don't worry if it's slightly off. We have two options to add a stem. The first one is to use PVA glue. We'll start by poking the stem through the hole in your flower. We're now going to fill the flower with PVA glue. You might find that easier straight from the bottle. There we go. And just place the middle back in. The problem with this technique is that the glue takes a little while to dry. So I've come up with a device that allows you to dry the flower so the stem stays straight. So this is the setup I use to allow the flowers to dry when I've used PVA glue. This is just a grill, obviously clean. A chair, a couple of chairs, chair and a table, whatever works best for you. And then just drop that in there. Make sure it's all central and then leave that for a few hours. The other technique requires a glue gun. If you're going to be creating a lot of paper flowers, I'd recommend investing in one. Again, poke the stem through the flower and then get our glue gun. Just the same as the PVA glue, we fill the gap with hot glue. Watch your fingers underneath in case the glue seeps through a little bit. Just place the centre in and just hold it for a few seconds to set. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to tag us on social media when sharing any photos of creations you've made.